Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having a great day. Happy holidays to everyone out there. Hope you've been treating yourself well. I hope and I'm sure, there we go, that you're all doing something nice over the next couple of days. Don't forget to leave a like. Don't forget to tell me what you're doing. What are you up to? What's going on? What's happening? What are you buying? What are the things that are going on in your life? And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Here we are. End of the year, just about, more or less. You understand, time. The assumption of where the cryptocurrency market is going to go is, this is the first time in a while that we've had slightly askewed, if you will, ideas as to the next 12 or so months. This news was extremely popular. It basically sets up where one very popular analyst believes that the cryptocurrency market is in the entirety of the cryptocurrency market is going over the course of the next few months. To be clear, everyone is bullish. There's not one unbullish person in the room. Everyone expects that we are obviously going to see brand new highs, that prices are going to pump. But the time frame for this one is a little bit different than some of the other stuff that we actually heard. His name is Alex Kruger. He's been in crypto for a very long time. We used to hear about him similar to the other analysts a long time ago. I think as prices continue to move, analysts' words hold a little bit more weight, and therefore they end up getting into the news a little bit more. Economist Alex Kruger thinks Bitcoin, meme coins, and other altcoins are primed to surge for the next few months. You'll hear the time frame. It's a little bit different, but it does make a lot of sense. Kruger outlined his prediction for the crypto market to people on Twitter, as many people do. Here we go. Here are all his stages for this bull run that he thinks is going to take place. And it kind of combines a lot of different theories from nearly all the different, it's like a weird amalgamation of ideas. Stage one, he says Bitcoin runs. Got it. The Bitcoin bull run, things begin to go. Stage two, he says, is meme coins join the fray. If you've been paying attention, meme coins have been getting a lot of attention as of late. I mean, all the altcoins are. But meme coins have a special place in the insanity that's actually currently taking place. Stage three is, he says, other altcoins join this as well. Altcoins also begin to do extremely well. He said he thinks at this point there will be a flush in the market, a flush out, if you will. He says he doesn't know if it's going to happen to around or at around $110,000 to $120,000. It's the idea of the market not necessarily being too hot, if you will. It's this idea of, if you've been missing a lot of videos this year, the concentration of wealth, not only within dollars and houses and land and other assets, also within crypto is a very big thing. Hear me out here. We're going to have a little conversation. The idea is that people without money don't know how to handle money. That's the idea from rich people. And therefore, if the money is concentrated into fewer hands, this is the idea. Don't get mad at me. The idea from rich people is that if the cryptocurrencies and other assets are allocated into a smaller amount of hands, there's not really a threat, if you will, of prices crashing. Think again about the 2008-2009 housing crisis, where a lot of people had taken out mortgages, many of which they could not afford and also which they were duped into. But the idea is that if you have tons of people who are buying homes, I want to buy another home. Like, the mortgage rates are low. This is so and so. Everyone can get a mortgage. And then the housing market collapses. You have a lot of people who are trying to sell one house, 3 house, 5 houses. It puts a gigantic strain on the housing market. The idea then becomes, if rich people buy up, or this is the idea of like a corporate landlord, if they own all the homes and something happens in the market, or it looks like real estate isn't, faring too well, like REITs and stuff like that, the housing market won't collapse because all these companies don't plan on selling it. It's the idea of having an asset, holding on to it, and just continuously letting it appreciate. In the sense of crypto, when you talk about like an actual flush out, it's because you might remember, if not, you're definitely new here. We tend to see the people who get the most scared and who sell the most and the quickest are retail investors, usually everyday people and brand new people into the cryptocurrency space. People who get into the market to make quick and fast money, they see that the market is going up. They see an opportunity for them to get in. They make around a good $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. The market falls by 5, 6, 7%, and they leave. It's terrifying for them, the idea of losing money. This is one of the ideas of the super rich, is to kind of like shake out people continuously. You can get them into the market to like make profit for things to go up, but then you make sure that you have control over that. I'm just telling you how it is. This is the idea of money. This is the world that we live in. And you flush out other people. So a lot of times you may have seen, if you were paying attention to the news and maybe you missed a video, we were hearing that the long-term holders for Bitcoin, wallets holding Bitcoin for more than 2 years and have not moved, like the Bitcoin is just sitting there. This metric kept on spiking and going up higher and higher, because this means that the Bitcoin essentially has been allocated or moved correctly into the hands of those who don't plan on selling it. Bitcoin becomes less liquid, and therefore the price is a lot easier to go up because no one plans on selling. So as prices go higher and new people get into the market and they get spooked at some point because prices drop, they leave the market. Those coins get sold, usually at a loss. Those coins then get transferred into what people in the space call diamond hands and or whales, and very wealthy people, or even a lot of you buy up those coins, you see a discount, which is usually the trend. A lot of people in crypto who've been here for a while, they see that there's like actually money to be made. The prices are down, they buy it up. And then eventually the sell wall kind of disappears. And then the price ends up moving back up again. I had to explain it. And a lot of people, it sounds gross, because it is. The idea of current finance is to basically wash out those who they don't want into the market, who they think might be flimsy. This was the issue with the entire, GameStop stock and all these other companies. These people had shorted it to the point where they were going to make money. And if other people, normal people, make the money, essentially, like they're tipping the scales into like the arms of normal people who need money and who are getting money, it kind of like ruins their game. So the game for rich people always is buy assets and hold on to them, because you know that the valuations, especially for Bitcoin, is going to go up. So this is when he's expecting there to be like an actual flush out in prices. When altcoins are really pumping and Bitcoin starts pumping as well, that basically the altcoins and everything else will drop, flush out a bunch of people, and then basically begin to move back up again. Stage 4, he says, is Mania Continues. He says this is going on, he says until Christmas or around the actual inauguration. And that's the one that kind of, I think, is the most interesting, because I think around the middle of January is when we're going to see a lot of the actual movements, in anticipation of, once again, I apologize, I have not been keeping track of everyone who's been allocated to where and what position, because the news is too much for me every single day. But we have gotten word that apparently a lot of people in these positions are going to be very crypto friendly. So I assume if we get news in 7 days, 6 days, 5 days, 4 days, a lot of people will begin to pick up a lot more. And usually we see Thanksgiving and Christmas as like really good time periods where people tend to throw a lot more money into the markets as well. Stage 5, he says, is more mania, but not as manic. Basically, more money flows into the market, but it's what analysts tend to call like institutional money and or like big money. The people, or even just people who know what's going on. So people in the market who've been here for a while, they see that prices are still like, advantageous to jump into. This is what me and a lot of my friends talk about as well. If you've heard me say before, when we look at prices for things, or like, I'm looking for coins to put money into, as I stated before in another video. One of the things, I don't know if anyone else does this, but what we do, especially for popular coins or coins who during the bear market lost around like 99% of their value. That's not the case anymore as prices are going up, but have lost, some altcoins during the market down cycles lose around 99% of their value. So what me and my friends tend to look for are coins that are popular, that are used, that have an extremely low valuation comparative to where they were before. For instance, if something hit $5.85 before, and the coin is currently at 12 cents, 17 cents, it's still being used. They still have their partnerships. Obviously, this coin is incredibly undervalued. So any $1,000 put into that at 17 cents, if it goes to $1.70, you've basically 10x your money. You made 10K from the original investment. The other idea is kind of the extrapolation of, second point, is if it goes back to its previous valuation, how much money will I then have? The answer is a lot comparative to where it is and where it could potentially go before. What we normally see during actual mania within the market, which I think we're going to start to see around summertime, because usually summertime is always summer in 2017. I remember walking around with friends and everyone was just talking about money and how much money they were throwing into the market. Summer 2021, I remember walking down the street with two of my friends and we were talking about like the market and where things were. Summertime is usually a really good like boiling point for a lot of it, where people end up throwing a lot more money in expectation of the market moving a lot higher as we get into autumn. So I expect summer 2025 is also probably going to be a really good time period for the market. As far as prices going up, I think it usually tends to be like, it's not as spectacular or amazing as people want it to be. It'll be like certain like 3 or 4 day periods going up by 6%. People will see that we're not at the 35% anymore per day. People will become bored. They'll leave the market. Those coins end up hitting the market again. They get absorbed once again. And therefore, things kind of pick up. A lot of what he isn't talking about here is the actual idea that, as I've been saying, is that the US is planning on buying up Bitcoin. Once we get proper word of this, like it's in a bill, it's happening. It's like on this date, this is going to happen. I think there's really no going back. I think it's going to be like absolute manic panic for everyone. Like everyone is going to be doing as much as they possibly can. It's also this idea of like selling like all assets, because you realize what's taking place, and everyone around the world and other countries as well and other rich people will then join in to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. If you missed a video about 2 weeks ago, I was a little bit, my normal manic self, where I was stating, and I think people need to remember, it is impossible. If all 21 million Bitcoin were on the market right now, like all of it, it would be impossible for every millionaire and billionaire to have an entire coin. It is impossible even at 21 million coins. With the idea of how many coins that we have left, with MicroStrategy buying up all these coins, it is impossible. Do you hear me? It is impossible for every millionaire and billionaire to even have a third of a Bitcoin. It's impossible for them to have 0.25 Bitcoin, a fourth of a Bitcoin. It is impossible. They will never. Do you want to, and I keep this in mind, if you are lucky enough to have a quarter of a Bitcoin, you own more Bitcoin. There's multiple millionaires and billionaires who will never be able to own more than you. Mathematically, like, it's not a joke. This isn't like, wishful thinking. It's because of how much is being absorbed by countries and by institutions and by people you might know. It is mathematically impossible for them to own an entire coin. Nonetheless, a fourth, think about it, a fourth of a Bitcoin. This means that some of you right now have more Bitcoin than billionaires can ever hope to ever have. This isn't a joke. This is like the actual numbers for it. Like, we're in a really weird, crazy time right now where it looks like, hyper Bitcoinization. He thinks that more mania is going to continue, but it won't be as manic. Prices will continue. He thinks this is going to happen until the end of February, the beginning of March. Okay, I can kind of see that, and there's a reason for it. Number 6, he says, and this is the idea, is correction and pain. If you look at any market cycle, you'll see historically around April and May, there's usually, no one knows if this is going to continue, especially if other countries jump into it, there won't be a real correction, if you will. If you're not from the States, April is tax time. We've always seen historically a lot of people get flustered and they begin to sell their crypto in an effort to be able to pay their taxes for the year. This is where he says around that time, he's expecting a correction, as we always see. This is every single market cycle. It just makes a lot of sense. Stage number 7 is more mania, basically, with even less panic. And he says something like this would make sense. This is relatively, not really. I was going to say it's relatively similar to what Plan B said, but Plan B's is more structured and intense. If you haven't seen it, I have it somewhere on my phone. I should have brought it up. Plan B basically thinks that around February and March, he thinks that this is when we are going to hear other big countries announce out loud that they're buying Bitcoin. And I mean really big GDP. He thinks that we are going, if you can find it, it's somewhere obviously online, but Plan B posts a lot. He's one of the first people who said that he got word that there were apparently a number of UAE countries, United Arab Emirates, who were already purchasing coins. So he said something a couple of months ago where he said he thinks next summer, Plan B thinks that we're going to have about 5, 6, 7 countries who come forward and announce that not only are they buying Bitcoin, but that they're going to actually use it as legal tender, or it will be allowed within their countries as a form of legal tender. He thinks at that point there's no going back. We have officially entered into a world where, and I, paraphrasing here his words and other analysts' words who all think this is going to happen, that basically if you don't own Bitcoin, you kind of lose. They say, you basically start selling everything that you possibly can because you will not have enough, or rather as much as you actually need, if that makes sense to you. So if you know that Bitcoin has won and the United States is buying it and 300 other companies announce the exact same thing, that they're also all going to be buying it, and then we have 35 countries by the time we get to summer also be we're doing the exact same thing. This is when basically the public would begin to panic. And this is why this is a personal thought, why I think we're seeing this high level of company allocation right now. If you've missed the last month or so of videos, I know I say that a lot, it's because not everyone's watching all the videos. What we're witnessing is a little weird. The amount of allocation into this market is crazy. And it's companies front running the US, but it's also other institutions and other countries trying to do the exact same thing. So if the largest economy on the planet says that they're buying up this asset that's been around for 15 years, everyone is going to follow suit. And that's what essentially gets us over $1 million per coin. So the market analysts, dare I say everyone, is kind of waiting to hear those words. When that bill goes through, what date the United States will then begin to actually start allocating money into Bitcoin. Kruger noted that the crypto bull run could take a break in March due to the fact that tax day in the US is on the 15th of April. Yes, it's always been the same. We've always seen a bit of a downturn. And I say this once again, it is normally retail who sells the most around that time. Of course, there are institutions who are also selling, whatever the case might be, but it's usually people who got into the market who made a couple $1,000s. They don't know what to do. They get kind of scared, so they sell some of their crypto to actually pay for the gains that they had, not realizing that even though they sold then, it created another taxable event, but that's also another discussion entirely. He said the above closely mirrors what happened in 2021 and 2024. The year 2025 doesn't sound real. I'm not the only one who thinks that, right? My friend was just telling me, he's like, think of the year 2031. And I was like, I feel like we should have like floating shoes, or like we should be able to like beam our consciousness to Mars. 2031 sounds completely insane. He said, so front running March profit taking in February would make sense as well. Crypto market participants have painful memories deeply ingrained, and we move in hordes. There often is a self-fulfilled prophecy component behind larger moves. If we believe in something, we make it happen. The trader also disputes. Here's the best part, and I've known all of you for a while. We've been here for a long time talking about this. I think cycles are over. I will see if I am incorrect, and all the other analysts as well. But I think cycles are done. This idea of the 4-year notion and all of this momentum that we have, we've never seen this before. We've had companies announce that they were in the space and they were buying $1 million worth of Bitcoin. That's happened. We've never had a company announce in August that they're buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, and then 4 weeks later they buy $4 billion worth of Bitcoin, and 3 weeks later they buy $6 billion worth of Bitcoin, and then a couple weeks later they buy 55,000 Bitcoin. We've never had, like, people are heavily underestimating where this is going and what's taking place. The US isn't, now this is going to sound weird. The US isn't a small country. The US dollar has been the focal point of the world since 1945, the focal point of money and every other financial decision of the rest of the world, both by force and also by people jumping on the actual bandwagon. If we hear for a fact that the world's largest economy is going to start accumulating an asset that's only been around for 15 years, the world is going to go into a panic state because the US dollar is everything in finance. If we hear that the US is going to try and buy 1 million Bitcoin, I think people really don't understand and can't conceptualize. The idea of BRICS, BRICS, collapses. The idea of there being a new currency being created crumbles to dust the moment we hear those words. The idea of fiat currencies begins to fade away like dust in a storm, because we then all hear that the future is digital. The future is Bitcoin. If you don't hold any of it, you are in trouble. This is where we're heading. We're just waiting for those words. That's what I've been trying to convey, but I know a lot of times I get so intense in my videos that the words don't come out properly. But this is what it is. That's why even the idea of like, excuse, this is my opinion, of prices like correcting and pain. No. This is part of why summer in 2024 was so interesting, because prices fell, but we didn't fall by like 68% like we normally would after a manic period. They kind of went sideways, and then thanks to people in the comment section and on Twitter, we heard that basically the futures and the ETFs were positioned, and if you will, manipulated to basically allow these institutions to be like, no, we got to buy up as much as we possibly can. Upon hearing that the US is planning on starting a Bitcoin reserve, we saw MicroStrategy begin to lose their bananas and buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly were able to. They're still taking out billions of dollars to buy more Bitcoin. I think the idea of cycles might completely be out the window. I think we're going to go down two paths. And I think there's only two different versions of this. We're either going to get to March, April, and May and not hear any word from the US, or we're going to hear that they're working on a bill. Really, I think that'll lead us down to expectations for the future, and prices will rise dramatically. I think we'll get to a $300,000, $400,000 Bitcoin, and then prices will begin to slow down a bit as we get to the end of the year. The other option, if you've missed it as well, other individual states within the United States are also beginning to buy up Bitcoin. Like now, if we hear the other side of that coin, is we hear on the 13th of February, we're working on the bill. It's going to happen. We're expecting it to pass on the 22nd of March. Cycles are over, because everyone is going to do anything they can to buy as much Bitcoin as possible. This is all predicted. This isn't like a, I'm crossing my fingers, hopeful, wishful thinking. No, these are the only two paths that we have. Bitcoin either takes another 4 or 5 years to get to $1 million, or Bitcoin gets there by the end of 2025. And by the time we get to 2030, we're at a 1.8, $2.6 million Bitcoin, and there's really no going back. The trader also disputes the notion that there will be a top to the ongoing Bitcoin bull market. He said there is no top. That's the whole point of the super cycle. 40% pullbacks instead. This goes on for as long as equities go on. The 4-year cycle, he believes, is also finished. This applies to Bitcoin, not so for altcoins. A 40% correction for Bitcoin translates into altcoins dropping by 75 to 95%. So one of the ideas, and I know what he's alluding to, one of the ideas of hyper Bitcoinization and Bitcoin maximalists is that as Bitcoin gets adopted by world governments, altcoins do well, but their market dominance collapses because nearly all the money goes into Bitcoin. This is what I was saying. I think we're going to live in a future with multiple coins. I won't say which coins. You should have a pretty good idea from the news. But I think, or rather the Bitcoin maximalist idea, is that Bitcoin will either hold 95% of the market or 100%. Everything else will exist. We'll have a multi-trillion dollar for other chains, a market cap as well, but they won't be able to ever get near Bitcoin. And therefore, if there's any kind of pullbacks, altcoins slam down into the ground, and that money begins to push back into Bitcoin, which didn't fall as much. And this kind of, we're in for a very interesting time, future, space thing. No one knows where anything is going. The optimism is that prices are going to pump. Things are going to continue going a lot higher. But on top of that, it's a coin toss. No one knows what the end of 2025 is going to look like. I think we're getting a taste of it, a whiff of it. But we need to hear those words. We are creating a Bitcoin reserve. And if you don't have any Bitcoin, it is going to be some of the most dramatic years of your life. It's not a joke. Like this has never been a joke, but I think people don't get it. I think a lot of people in crypto are in it for the quick, fast cash. The adoption that we have isn't something that's fly by night. Bitcoin is in our financial system. It is interwoven into it. And people won't realize that until we get to $1 million per coin. It's not going to be something that like flashes in their face, but you'll get it. You'll understand. And this is why I've said for a long time, I hope that you are on the boat. I hope you're on board. I hope you're on the train. I hope you're on the wagon, whatever kind of vehicle you need to hear, because it's blatantly obvious where this is all going. Right. That's definitely going to do it for this video. I hope you're all doing amazing. I hope you're all doing fantastic. I hope you have had the time to buy the coins that you wanted to. I hope you got what you wanted this holiday season, or that you get it whenever you plan on doing things. I had friends before who like swapped gifts on like the 28th, and I was like, what's the maybe I didn't get it. I didn't really understand. Yeah. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.